Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Today, my guest is Will Jones, and you are a pest control specialist. And I wanted you to come in here today and we discuss things because you run marathons for your mental health. And you started your weight loss journey a long time ago, and you've got some weight loss. And I had some weight issues, and I ended up having weight loss surgery. It worked great for me. But I wanted to have you on and we could talk about some inspirations and life stuff. But when did you start running marathons?
So I didn't actually start running a marathon. Well, when you say marathon, a marathon is actually 26 miles, 26.2.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So I haven't run an actual full marathon yet. I plan to do that in September, but I've ran half marathons. So half marathon, that's 13.1.
Yeah.
I've ran two of those. Ran one in February, and then I ran one last September, and that was my first race I've ever done.
Wow.
It was back in last September, and I've planned to do the full one this September in the St. Joe Marathon. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when we're saying 13, you said 13.1 miles?
13.1, that's a half marathon. Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I can't imagine walking that, let alone running. So
Right.
how much of that 13 miles are you actually running?
The full, yeah. So
Really?
yeah, it's the full distance. The only time I'm really stop or slow down, it's usually to grab a drink and
Right.
keep moving. But yeah, I don't stop. I try to keep moving at all times. Yeah.
So where was your starting point? When how far did you run when you first started? Did you work your way up from like a half mile or a mile?
So yeah, it started at a mile. I started doing just a little bit of trying to get trying to get a little bit, better,
In like endurance
getting
training?
in health, just trying to get better, fit,
Right.
trying to get, healthier.
Right.
That was just the main thing. I was weighing around 235, 240 range.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be better. I just wanted to feel better. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah. I'm actually 230 right now, and my beginning weight, my highest weight was 520. My highest weight was 520, and my beginning goal for wanting to lose weight was just health. I couldn't move. I was so depressed, and it felt like I was just waiting around to die, man. And so I knew I had to do something. And when I tried to get up and do exercise and move, and I even tried going to the gym and stuff, like I couldn't even walk. So it was a difficulty for me once I got started. It was the best thing for my mental health. Just getting motivated,
Right.
getting moving, and once the weight's at my heaviest, just getting motivated and
yeah.
getting started, and starting that journey was, man, it was so incredible for my mental health. Just getting
Right.
up and moving was the best part of it. And once I got down to a certain level, it was like it stopped being a chore and more of something. Okay, yeah, this is great. This is fun, and it took a lot of anxiety away about being heavier, my health and stuff. And then it started being fun. Has that been your experience?
So my experience was very different. And this is when I kind of tell everybody, it's really making your own path on it. It's going to take a lot of things in your own life, and it's going to take you and you alone to actually going to do it.
Right.
Like, so mine is very unique. It involved losing a very close friend of mine, and like we come back mental health.
Right.
He took his own life, and that was around April 24th of last year.
Wow.
So I think about it all the time. And on my first race, I wrote his name on my shoes, Grape James. Yeah. So losing him was very difficult, and it really pushed me after that, because I was already kind of, like I said, I was trying to just make a change.
Right.
And then it happened like with weeks, maybe a month after that. That's when it happened. And losing him, it was really hard. And that's this next race here on the 22nd. I'm dedicating this race because I'm going up to Ames, Iowa, where he lived, and that's where he took his life, and I'm gonna go see his grave and everything. And then I'm gonna go do the race at night. It's gonna be a 7 p.m. race, so I'm dedicating that race to him. And I think, like I said, that was probably one of the biggest things. I got into David Goggins too. He was a big motivator in there too. I listened to a lot of his speeches, the motivational speeches. I really love David Goggins. So, and like I said, it was a mixture of things. And then, like I said, wanting to make a change in my life. It was kind of those big 3 things, and wanting to balance my life out with my family, wanting to show my kids too that you can do anything in life. And I wanted to, and that's why I have them at every race.
Yeah.
If it's not both of them, it's either Aria. Aria is usually at every single race. She's at the very end. There'll be a picture with me and her.
That's awesome.
So I think that was the biggest thing, is just showing the girls too, like anything is accomplishable.
Right. Yeah. And that's a great story, man. I'm sorry to hear about your friend, but through tragedy, we often find triumph, and that's a really healthy take on things. Is when you do have something that happens like that, man, just find something that can not only just take your mind off it, but help you cope.
Oh yeah,
help you cope, and dedicating the race to your friend. That's so sweet. That's awesome. I'd like to do stuff like that. I have no endurance, man.
Oh,
I
no.
have no endurance.
It's hard.
I could never. So riding a bike, I could ride a bike. I could walk 13 miles.
Right.
But running 13 miles, boy. And you're wanting to go after 26. That's
So 26, is going to be in September. It'll be my very first race.
Where's this race at?
It's in town, St. Joseph.
I'm gonna definitely check up on that and see how you're doing, and maybe stay and watch for a little bit. That's awesome.
The whole year last year, I had planned to do the 26. I hadn't signed up for it yet, but I planned to do the 26. So it got closer. It was around July, August, and I pulled a VMO of, I can't even pronounce it, vascular
we don't need to go into
I was going to say
specifics.
VMO.
Just pulled a ligament or something?
Quad. Sorry.
Quad. Yeah.
I know all about it now. So
that's fine.
I looked up into it, and I really pulled it, and I could only do the 13. I got all the way up to 17 though. That's the longest I had ran.
That's
I ran from the north side of St. Joseph all the way almost to Benton.
That's crazy.
And back.
That's crazy.
And so that was 17. Yeah.
So we got a big old town here. It's like 40 square miles here. And I've misspoke in the past and said it's the same size as Manhattan Island, but our city here is twice the size of Manhattan Island. I think Manhattan's it's like 20 square miles, 22 something.
I
like that.
have no clue. I don't know much about New York.
The reason why I compared it to that was because this city is huge, and not a lot of people live here, and so it's really spread out. And there's a good chunk of land to cover. 17 miles.
Yeah,
that's man, that's impressive. I don't even think I could do half of that. I definitely know I couldn't run half of that. I know I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I could walk it.
My main goal, eventually, I want to be able to run from my house to Benton and back.
Yeah.
Or Hyde Park. That's the main goal. That little statue of the Native American down there.
Yeah.
At Hyde Park.
Yeah,
right there in Alabama. King Hill. Is it King Hill?
Yeah, King Hill. I think so. You had mentioned that you have small children, and so it's sometimes very important for me to show my kids what adversity looks like, because in this day and age, like we tend to make it easy for our kids, and so I like to make things challenging sometimes, and I think it's really good for our kids to watch us struggle sometimes. I know it's not good for kids to deal with adult problems, but I think it's good for the kids to see adversity and then see their loved ones work through that adversity. I think that's very important, and I commend you for wanting to, show your kids like, hey, this is what hard work can do, and you worked your way from small to running half marathons, and now you plan to do a full marathon in September. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's here on this show. We like to talk about inspirations. We like to talk about chasing the dreams. We like to talk about following that passion, and we also like to talk about mental health. And so when I started talking to you, you had came over to treat our house for pests. We got some ants here, got some wasps. We live right next to the woods over here. And as I was talking to you, the more you talked, the more I was like, this guy's perfect for our show. Because it just, everything that we had talked about was like the main focus of the show. And just to have somebody that is willing to come and talk about your struggles and your triumphs, I can't thank you enough, and I very much appreciate that. So when you're wanting to, so the marathon, the half marathon you're getting ready to run and dedicate to your friend.
That's actually, sorry, it's a 10K.
10K.
So yeah, I've done a lot of 5Ks, and this will actually be my first 10K. But I've done roughly about like 6 or 7 5Ks, which is only like 3 miles.
Yeah.
I do a lot of those. I try to do a race every month.
Yeah.
Not dedicate, but like making sure I'm like motivated to do something in that month, and then I've got everything scheduled in that month too, leading up, and a lot of training, and it's all trying to balance with my family and
I know
eating
what that's
too.
all about. Yeah,
I eat a lot, so I tried to watch what I eat sometimes, but I mean, comes back like the cookies and ice cream, that stuff, you know, will get you.
Sometimes you have to treat yourself.
Exactly. You got to treat yourself. So like I said, I balance that. So, cause I want to enjoy life. I want to, enjoy the nice things. And at the same time, I do want to stay disciplined, cause I have this, I think we all have it. We have these 2 voices in our head telling us, hey, it's cool, relax, sleep in today. And you got that other voice telling you you're not working hard enough. You need to get out there. You need to train harder. So it's like, I always look, do I have enough time to get into where I want to be for this race? I always think about it. It's a mental struggle almost every single day. And it's been like that for about a year now. Like am I working hard enough to be ready for a race? Yeah.
I run into a lot of people that actually have that, not issue. It's not an issue, like that mindset.
Right.
Like, I don't want to do it. I have to do it.
Exactly.
And if I don't do it, I'm not gonna do it. You know what I mean?
It's like that.
And that's kind of how I am in social situations sometimes. I don't exercise near as much as I should. I have a 5-year-old to keep up with. You know what that's like. Mm-hmm. Our son, he's going to start kindergarten in the fall, so he's just now going to school full time. And so for the first 5 years of his life, I mean, that's all I've done is try to keep up with him and the rest of the family. But man, I love like being active, like going to like Disney World. I went to Disney World at my heaviest, and that was miserable the whole time.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
And then not last year, but the year before, we took a couple trips with our kids. Man, we just trying to find things to do to keep us all active while we're together is difficult. But like we took a couple trips down to Universal Studios, and a night and day difference of. And I was 220 pounds when we went the first time to Universal. That's my max weight loss from 520 to 220. I lost 300 pounds. And I had the sleeve surgery, as is the gastric sleeve bariatric surgery. Mm-hmm. It's the least complicated out of all of them, I think. That's the one I did. And when I got down to 220, we were down at Universal Studios. Night and day difference. I walked around, didn't get tired, no fatigue. My back didn't hurt. My knees didn't hurt. My feet hurt a little bit because I was walking around in boots, but that was my bad. So we went out and bought me some shoes the next time. And, we enjoyed doing things like that and going places. before, and now we love it even more, and we
Right.
love to share that experience with our children. And man, what are we were talking, you're going to Iowa to do that 10K. Where have you done races? Have you done anywhere like California?
No, so Iowa will be the first one out of state, but most of them have been in St. Joe, Kansas City. My last one was actually at Arrowhead Stadium.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I'm a big Chiefs fan.
Yeah, I started in the parking lot, ran all the way around Kaufman, Arrowhead, came in through Arrowhead, went up the spiral, came down the spiral,
Wow.
went down to the tunnel. Yeah.
Now that doesn't sound like a whole lot to the average person, but this complex is huge. Like I think Arrowhead Stadium standing room only will hold like 75,000, something
Right
like
around
that.
there, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then concerts are even more than that because they bring out people to the field. So I think it's over 100,000.
Yeah, right around there, yeah.
For concerts when they can use the field, and they have parking to accommodate all that. And I think the baseball field, I think I'm wanting to say 30 to 35,000. I could be wrong. It could be somewhere around 40. I'm not 100% on that, but they have parking to accommodate all that.
Yeah.
So those parking lots are huge. And then Arrowhead Stadium itself is massive. And the spiral that you're talking about goes from, it's essentially like a longer walkway to take the grade out, and it's a people mover essentially. It's a wide spiral, like a ramp.
Yeah, it's
And
basically a ramp, just
Takes
going
it
all the way up.
to,
Yeah.
from the bottom level all the way up to the top. And that's impressive. That's really cool. I'm big Chiefs fan, big Arrowhead fan, as a matter of fact.
That was a lot of fun. So after the race, you get to kind of just walk around. My family was all out there too. So my mom, my kids, my wife ran it too. So this is her very first 5K.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
this is
awesome.
her first kind of race, anything. So she kind of ran with it. She was keeping up, but she was with them. She was with everybody. So she did really, really well. I'm really proud of her. So yeah, and when everybody got together, we got to play on the field. I got to catch a football in the end zone. I got that all recorded too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's all on my my running page. I have a running page on Facebook too. So.
We'll have to link your socials in
Yeah.
that, and
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to get some information from you before you leave. But yeah, well, that's
really
how
cool.
long of a distance in miles is 5K? Without looking, I'd have to look it up.
3.1.
3.1
Yeah,
miles.
Yeah.
So
they're very different. I mean, they say 5Ks can be harder than the marathons.
Yeah.
5Ks, you're booking it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're really pushing those 3 miles. Marathons, it's more of an endurance. It's more of how long is it, how much you're going to have in the tank at the very end.
Right.
Because even when I did that 17-mile run, at the very end of it, things were shutting down. I could feel things were hurting. So
We're the only animals on the planet that can do that.
yeah, we really are. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's definitely
Is that crazy to think
different.
about? Is
Yeah.
so we see the cheetahs, the fastest land animal on earth, but they can't compare to us because they have no endurance.
you can just
And
outrun them.
we are the
Eventually.
the alpha here, I guess is it's not alpha. They have a word for it. But
Apex predator.
apex, yes.
Yeah.
We're the apex. There's no animal on the planet that can endurance run like we do. That's crazy. And I say that I can't do it, but if I had to, if my life depended on it, oh, absolutely, I could
Right.
run. And I'd have to be pushing myself the whole time. But,
Right. It's difficult. It really is.
So
And-
your wife ran that 5K, and is she planning to get into it more?
Yeah, she really is. I think she's wanting to do the one in September. She'll probably do the 5K.
Yeah.
then.
Now, did they run those at the same time?
Oh yeah, so there's a 5K, there's a 10K half marathon, and a full marathon. So it's just
all at the same time.
Oh yeah, it's
just
pricing
they just
and
split
everything.
up the distances, like the longest distances. You just keep running past the.
Yeah, so marathons and half marathons start at the same time, 7:00, and they take off, and then 5Ks, 10Ks, they'll end up going like a half an hour later.
Yeah,
and then they don't go very far, and they come right back.
That's nice.
Yeah. The full marathons, it goes all the way up the parkway, and then goes all the way right in front of the Krug Park.
Yeah.
And then, right there in front of Krug Park, the Krug Park pool.
Yeah.
Comes all the way back down. Ashland goes all the way down.
So it's a very
Noise.
beautiful
Yeah, it goes
run.
all the way in, and then comes all the way back. So it's definitely a long run.
That sounds like a very beautiful run. So we got listeners and viewers all over the world. Like we've got an audience in the United Kingdom. We've got an audience in Canada. And so for those of you not familiar with the areas that he's talking about, it's like neighborhoods, and the parkway that you had mentioned is, I can't remember how long it is, but it's just miles of roadway through town that, I mean, it goes all the way through town, and it's basically just a wooded, shaded, nice drive. You just get on the parkway and just kind of cruise. It's one of those kind of roads. And the neighborhoods that they have you running through, those are really nice, woodsy type of neighborhoods where they have trees everywhere and animals, and it's very beautiful.
The trees is the best part.
Yeah,
I mean, especially in the fall when everything's starting
all
to
the
change.
colors.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely what you want to be seeing when you're running like that. I mean, because you're in this headspace, you know, and you're trying not to break down, and mentally you're trying to stay focused. And what's nice is being able to see things and be the people. People really will bring the energy out of you.
Absolutely.
So there's the constant people just like cheering you on, and not really having that feeling before, because I never really was big in athletics. I mean, I played a little bit of basketball here and there in middle school, high school, and elementary, but I mean, really feeling like you're accomplishing something big, and having people push you that you don't even know, just cheering you on is really cool.
Yeah, so you'd mentioned the fall colors, man. That's one thing that we do take it. I learned that I take advantage of how beautiful Missouri is during the fall time. We travel all over the place, and as we're leaving Missouri and going down south, you'll notice like during the wintertime, it changes from wonderful, beautiful fall colors to just green. Everything's green down south in the fall. And I think I was saying it a couple falls, or a couple years ago when we were traveling during the fall. I was like, man, we really kind of take advantage of how beautiful, Missouri is during the fall time. And as we getting further down south, as we're talking to people, oh yeah, we love going up north for the fall because it's so beautiful. And so I could just imagine what those colors are looking like when you're running through those neighborhoods.
Just trying to keep pushing. It is really nice. I love St. Joe. A lot of people don't really like it, but I like St. Joe.
Man, I think those people that don't like it really are stuck on the internet.
Are the ones that just don't.
They don't go.
Or they're the problem or something. I can't tell. I don't know which one.
So, I mean, we had mentioned it before. The city is huge, and there's not very many people that live here. It's 40 square miles, 70,000-ish people.
Yep, right around there, yeah.
And our metro is somewhere around 200,000, which is... that sounds absurd to me, because I couldn't imagine it being higher than 100.
Yeah, you got a lot of small towns and stuff around here, so I believe it.
But so I mean, this city, I mean, it does have its fair share of issues. Like there's property crime here, but then like it's not that bad.
It's not that bad compared to some other places.
No, like you go to St. Louis, man, you drive through St. Louis, it just give you the willies.
I used to live in Huntsville, Texas, and Huntsville, Texas only had 30,000 people, but I have never seen as much crime and just bad neighborhoods as they do. Just in a 30, and that's just, and a lot of it, there's prisons that are just surrounded that area too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I lived there for 5 years, and I worked at one of those prisons, and I can just tell you, it's like they release them and they're just right back. I mean,
Yeah.
and they in the neighborhoods that are close where they release them,
Yeah.
or where they stay. Those are the neighborhoods right there. They release them there, and
But
it's
what a
almost
lot
like
of
they're
people
right back
don't-
in the system. It's
But
weird.
what a lot of people don't understand about what like catch and release, what the hell else are they going to do with them? They can't house them.
Right, yeah.
You know, and so I do understand what California is going through because they have a high population there. But have you ever been to San Francisco?
No, I haven't,
So-
but I hear a lot about it.
So San Francisco actually reminds me a lot of here.
Really?
And yeah, the people in San Francisco and like the residential areas of San Francisco. Now it's quite a bit more upscale than here,
Right.
but it's old.
Okay.
It's so like the buildings look great, but they are old. So the infrastructure in San Francisco and the way the buildings are built remind me a lot of here, and it's strange to see how that city fell apart the way it did with the homeless population and stuff like that, because they pump a ton of money into it, and I think that's part of the problem. There's money to be made, and just not putting it in the right places.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I see horror stories coming out of San Francisco. I'm just like,
It's
like, why? is it the
there's a
way
lot
it
of
is?
smash and grabs.
Yeah.
A lot of property crime, and it's store owners there's
biggest-
nothing they can do, and
Except move.
Yes,
They're going to other states like Texas, and,
Yeah.
you know, where the crime is just, I mean, I say that, but
so San Francisco, I think what the problem was is they said
Yeah.
the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, we can't house you, and so we're not even going to charge you." And that's the problem. They could be making money hand over fist if they just charge those people, but they don't.
right.
And the catch and release here runs a lot similar. It's what are they going to do with them? There's so much property crime. What are we going to do? How are we going to house all these people? It costs more to house them than just to let them go. And
Yeah.
that's the sad fact of it. But we as a society kind of need to get better through the things that you're doing, like running marathons man, I see a lot of people going through their lives avoiding the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And that's good times make weak people. You ever heard that?
Yeah, I've heard that one.
And I knew, so like some of the stuff that you've listened to in the past, like David Goggins and Jocko Willink is a good
Yeah,
one.
I've heard his stuff before. Yeah.
Well, one of the stories that he says is, you know, when somebody comes up to him, good, and anytime that they have bad news, and they give him the bad news, he says, good,
Let's
and
figure it out.
And then they like, why do you always say good? And good or bad, what, you know, even if you get bad news and you just say good, and he says, well, because out of every bad situation, you got to look at something good's going to come out of it,
Right. Yeah.
and that's a great way to look at things. And we as a people need to start doing that. And I think pushing ourselves physically and mentally into uncomfortable situations, giving ourselves a chance to fight back adversity, I think that do amazing things for our mental health, our physical health, and just our relationships with people in general. Because with social situations, I'm kind of the same way. I push into social situations that I'm uncomfortable in, just because a lot of good can come out of it. I always tell this story. Like there was one time a few months ago, my buddy wanted to take me to a comedy club. I didn't want to go. I wanted to go up until the day of, and then the day of came. Man, I didn't want to go. I hated just the thought of going. People, and I'm an introverted extrovert, which means I prefer to be extroverted, but I like my introvert moments too.
Yeah.
And it was one of those days I was wanting to be an introvert, and I forced myself to go. I was like, well, there's two ways I can look at this. I have to go or I get to go. And I chose to look at it as I get to go. I had fun, and it was one of the best moments this year. You know, I can look back on that. Man, I'm really glad that I went. I met a couple real solid guys, had a great time, a lot of laughs. And at the end of the day, it made me feel better.
Right.
And so sometimes I do have to force myself into those type of situations. It's kind of like, it's not physically like running a marathon, but you have to mentally prepare for those things too.
Oh yeah.
What else do you do for fun other than running marathons?
So, I play a lot of video games. I play this game called Daisy. It's a survival zombie horror.
It's kind of like the old Resident Evil ones.
It's not necessarily like Resident Evil. It's more like it's pretty realistic.
Except for the zombies part.
So
right?
yeah, except for the zombies part, but like it's very different as in like, you know how you click one button for the B button that reloads your gun.
Yep.
For this game, you have to take your mag out of your gun. You have to put bullets in your gun.
Oh wow!
You have to put the mag back in your gun. Like
so
it's very you have to take your time with it. It's a big learning curve.
Actually,
I tell everybody going into it, there's a huge learning curve.
It's more immersive. It takes you out of it takes you out of like the real world and puts you in their world. More immersive. World. Yeah, yes. That's pretty neat, actually.
Extremely difficult. The first time I played it for a couple hours and got mad. I didn't come back for maybe a couple of months. Maybe that mad. And then I finally got into it, and it's a lot more fun with friends too.
Yeah.
Because I play with up to like 20 people.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, we have our own group, ECC. Shout out to all my boys.
Shout out.
Wyatt, Henny, Mike, Owie, all of them, Kern. Those are all my homies.
Hey guys.
They definitely are some of my closest friends right now.
That's pretty awesome. So like what? So when you're playing video, it's like I had to get out of playing video games. To be honest with you, I was into video games for a long time until I had children that like to play video games, and then it was like, okay, I'm playing a video game now. It's my turn, and I've got kids screaming at me, telling me, "No, you got to go over here. No, you got to go over here." And I'm like, "Listen, I haven't played this game. Like, you've beaten it. Let me play." Like,
right.
You know, and it became impossible. So eventually, I just gave my console to my kid, and I was like, "Here, I don't even want it anymore." And I don't even have a DVD player anymore. I don't.
This game would be extremely difficult.
I'm sure. I think Call of Duty's hard.
I was gonna say. It's nothing like Call of Duty or anything like that. It's right now we all have a base. It's all on a different server. So
right.
there's server numbers. So there's one map, right? So there's a map, and then you can have up to 30, 60 people in one server. So there's like hundreds of servers with different numbers and everything. And we have our own base on our own server.
Right.
And we have our own group chat. We all stick together. We all let each other know that like things are going down. People are at base. People are trying to raid the base. So it's really, really cool. Like last night, we were up until like 1 a.m. killing people trying to get into our base. So it was a lot of fun.
What's really neat about that nowadays is because you have apps on your phone that can keep track of your game while you're not on it. And then so if something happens, you're like, oh, I need to go I need to go help my guys or whatever. Yeah. You can go do that. That's pretty neat. I do like the functionality of that. And then also, the chat has changed quite a bit over the last few years.
Yeah.
It's gotten faster, and other than the voice chats, like the written messages and stuff, it's a lot faster these days.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's because you can use your phone while you're playing the game.
So yeah, you actually with this game you have to use your phone. One of the biggest things is there is no map.
Yeah.
So you can't pull up a map on your game. It has to be on the app on the phone.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and
it makes it more immersive,
yeah,
right?
and everything on the map shows you where everything is. So if there's a broken down car, if there's an actual car, if there's animals in that area, there's everything, water. I mean, to find everything is on that map, and we'll shows you the elevation. It shows you where any like
so it's
where
like
the good
it's almost
loot
like
is.
a
Yeah.
real world scenario in a video game. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
almost like training.
It's extreme. Yeah, it's really cool. There's sicknesses you can
What's
get.
the name of this game? I'm gonna have to check this
Daisy,
out.
Daisy. Yeah, Day and then Z, just Daisy.
I'm gonna have to check this one out. Is it PS5 or?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have it on PS5. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because we don't have. Well, I don't even have a PS5, but my oldest son, he's got one. Man, I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds like a cool ass game for real.
You start as a freshie. You don't really get much, but you have to explore throughout the game to get loot. You
Yeah.
have to explore. You have to go out. You have to go places. And what's funny is you do a lot of running on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the biggest part, a lot of people call it a running simulator because you're running all over the map trying to find things.
Oh man, have you seen those? They have these peripherals that you can hook up to your game systems, and it's oh man, it's, for lack of a better term, it's like a treadmill for video games. And
Really?
yeah, you can jump in it, and it's
Like
it's got
VR
a big,
almost?
yeah.
Yeah.
You should wear your VR. And I don't know if this DayZ is VR or not, but I'm sure it could work with like
Eventually it probably will be.
yeah, I'm
Someone will figure
I'm
it
sure
out.
they will eventually. But you just put on your VR goggles and you jump in there, and it works like a manual treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are the one moving it, and it's very smooth. I've never been in one, but I saw them on Shark Tank. So you step up onto it, and it's like a platform, and then it's got a ring that holds you in there, and you use it to push up against.
Right, and you're
tell you-
basically
yeah.
just moving with it as you're running. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very neat. And
That would be perfect for Daisy.
yeah, I'm telling, and it's very expensive, but it's not as expensive as you would think it would be
Right.
for like home use. It is made for like arcades. It's made for arcade owners to go buy for many people.
Right.
But it's not prohibitively expensive to buy for your home. I think the one on Shark Tank, I think it was like $2,500 or something.
Right.
Now I'm paraphrasing because I could be totally way off, but it was something affordable that like, I mean, obviously affordable for rich people, because like $2,500 for you and I would be crazy, but
Yeah.
it's not prohibitively expensive.
So my biggest thing is not just how expensive. I mean, it could be $100 to me. Mm-hmm. I don't think I ever would want to buy one.
No.
My biggest thing is
I don't have anywhere to put nothing like that.
I have nothing against them except that I don't want anything covering my eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe that comes from working in a prison, but I don't want anything covering my eyes.
Yeah.
I feel like someone's gonna get me. Like
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. I'm not able to look at my, like if I'm playing my game at midnight,
Yeah.
I have my console there. I have my camera monitors there too.
Right.
I can watch it all the way around my house. If something like goes on, I can kind of see in the
Right.
corner of my eye. If I have this going on, I can't see anything.
Right.
So that scares me.
Now the
and
technology is coming to where like digital assistants would be able to help out with that, like if like motion detectors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That'll come up on your screen as you're playing, and you're like, oh no.
I just think it's one of those things. I'm not trying to get too into like sci-fi and like what do they call it, Skynet.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get into in that, but I mean,
We can go that direction if you want to.
I was gonna say we can, but I mean VR. AI. One of those things. If it really is trying to get us, the perfect thing would be just to cover your eyes,
Yeah. Yeah.
cover your hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 2 senses down right there.
Yeah.
I mean, what's next? What are they going to try to take your breathing away now?
Well, I think ideally,
Since a feel, are you going to actually feel in a video game
if
now?
you go to like Ready Player One kind of stuff. If you go that direction, yeah, I think Yeah, I could see that.
It's where you start taking away my senses.
But even with people these days, even like covering up your eyes and taking away your senses, you have to worry about people in the real world also.
Yeah.
You know, so like...
Well, yeah, there's people in the real world. What if they're working hand in hand? Like, what if those people are working with the AI? Yeah. So, I mean, like, I hate to get too far into it because I can.
Oh,
but
no.
It's AI, aliens, whatever it may be. But
I love talking about that stuff, man.
Me too. I'm the same way.
It's one of those... it's one of those things. I don't think AI is... So AI is a misnomer. What we think of AI is not AI. What we think of AI is not... I'm sure if they have it, it's military.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anywhere close to what we think of AI as.
It's probably been around for a lot longer than we think it has too.
Yeah. It's machine learning is what we're using. Like is the consumer is using like computers, really smart computers that have the capability to learn. And I don't think it'll ever get to that point. Like, but if it does, will we know? Like as it's happening, because if you think about where technology is currently going, we want to merge with it. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know.
What if that's part of the plan?
Yeah. What if that is part of the plan? And that's why I never was into iPhones. I thought it, like I said, I never was in the whole aspect of everything's the same. But now I kind of fallen in line.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
kind of like it. I like how everything is kind of organized, and together and structured as it is.
It took them a while to figure out that that's what we wanted.
Right.
We wanted some, like, look, if you're going to sell us something that okay, you're touting it to work with this, and this, it better work. And now that, like you were saying with Apple, they have all their systems tied together. Like you can pick up your iPad and you got the same, you could pick up your iPad right now and then put it down, an hour later go to your PC, and which your Mac, they don't call them PCs.
Right.
You go over to your Mac and continue off where you left off on your iPad. And I have the capability on my computer to do that. It's Microsoft and Google are working together with my stuff, but it took them a long time to understand that is what the consumer wants.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to buy 50 different things that like have to work together a certain direction or a certain way. We want to be able to buy, 5 different things that work really well together, and like integrated systems and all that. Maybe it's essential for safety too, data safety and protecting your information, sensitive information, your IP, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's very integral and we don't even understand it as it's working,
Right.
Like I'm getting security threats on my internet like all day long from traffic sources outside the house. And I'm like, what is this? And then I click on it and it's like, somebody was trying to connect to my Wi-Fi. And I was like, oh wow. So
I believe it.
Yeah, it's, man, technologies, it is freaky these days, the things that they can do. And the military was testing AI earlier I can't remember if it was earlier this year or last year. They were testing AI and they had to shut it down because it kept going off on its own.
Skynet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Terminator.
Me too. So Terminator 2 is one of my favorite movies, man.
Terminator 2 is one of the classic,
Action
Arnold.
movies.
It really
Yeah.
is one of the classic. I'd say probably up there number 1 classic action movies. Like you have to watch it.
And
if you are into action movies, you have to watch it.
I'm a big James Cameron fan.
Yeah.
Titanic. I even love Titanic.
Explosions. He's all
Yes.
into that. I like James Cameron. I love Arnold. I grew up. That was one of my idols growing up was Arnold.
Yeah.
For sure. That movie was so cool. There really is no other movie like it, really.
I think it was James Cameron that did Titanic, wasn't it? Yeah, that's what I thought.
For sure.
Yeah. And so Terminator, the whole franchise, I'm huge fan. I love the Alien franchise. Another franchise
I kind of watched a little bit. Alien's not bad. You're talking about the aliens with
the long faces.
Yeah, those are cool. I
The
like those.
xenomorphs, that's what they're called.
Xenomorphs. Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know actually that was the name. I just thought they were just alien.
Yeah. So I didn't know that either until like my middle kid. He's 14. He'll be 15 in October. And he's a nut for that kind of stuff. And he's like, they're xenomorphs.
Xenomorphs.
Yeah.
So I was more of Predator. Arnold.
Oh, yes, man.
I was about to say
Predator's
Arnold.
the best.
I was about to say Predator is. I love Predator.
Yeah,
that one was my
it's
favorite.
one of the best movies ever.
And then the iconic high five with him and what's his name? Weathers.
Carl Weathers. Yeah.
Carl Weathers,
what was his
man.
name? What was his name in the
can't remember.
show? I can't remember either.
You son of a bitch.
He says, "You're one ugly motherfucker." Get to the chopper.
Man, that was a great movie.
Yeah,
I could watch that over and over. That was a good one. It really was.
Yeah. So I really love like old action flicks like that. Sylvester Stallone's one of my favorites. Rocky. Love the Rocky movies.
I watched all 5 of them, all in a short time, probably within like a week or two.
Yeah.
And that was probably like a couple months ago, but like it was really good. I actually compared them, how good, which one. The first couple ones are really good. The third one is probably one of like the best, up there with
it's
one of the best ones.
underrated. The third one is very underrated. My favorite though, has got to be the fourth one, and the reason why. Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'm thinking of the fourth one. I'm thinking of the fourth one. Sorry.
It's my favorite one, and it really, the production value and all that was really high, but it really captured the essence of what the country was going through at that moment.
Cold War.
Yes, the Cold War.
Oh yeah.
It was 1985 is when that movie came out, and it had elements of James Brown, living in America, East versus West kind of thing. And I mean, it's still very pertinent to what's going on right now, but like that was one of my favorites because as a child, I identified with that character a lot. And so Rocky always pushed himself and going through adversity but one of the things that really struck me about Rocky was his vulnerability and how honest he was. You need more coffee?
Yeah, I'll take some more. Yeah, I love Rocky. Rocky was so good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of the fourth one. The third one's the one with Mr. T.
Yeah, that was totally underrated. I love that one.
That one was good, and you can tell, the difference, because I watched them all in a short period of time, the difference between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
He was juicing.
Yeah, the money.
He was juicing.
He was juicing.
He was juicing. And those abs, what he had going on.
But he's honest about it.
Is he really? Yeah. I did not know he actually was honest about it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's honest about it. Like unlike The Rock, you see how swole that guy is. He's it's all natural.
They're all doing something.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't get like that and then.
I'm a big Rock fan.
I like the Rock's all right.
And I'm like, yeah, there's no way that's natural. But Sylvester Stallone, he's very honest about his past steroid use, and he's never denied it, I don't think.
Have you ever seen Tulsa King?
Yes, that's one of my favorite shows.
I binge watched that. I don't really binge watch things, and I binge watch that.
Yeah. Another good one, and I was on Facebook this morning and it made me think of it. Mayor of Kingstown. It's not Sylvester Stallone, but it's Jeremy Renner. He plays in the Avengers. He's Hawkeye.
Oh, okay. I know. Yeah.
So you'll have to check that one out. Mayor of Kingstown. It's freaking awesome.
So I'm like the 1% that's not real big into Marvel, and
I'm not too big into it anymore either. But like so when they brought
only thing I want to say is like Iron Man.
Yeah, when they brought that stuff to life though, I'm not too into the story. I like the action part of it. Like Transformers, dude. Like as far as action movies go, the Transformers movies are freaking great.
I haven't seen anything after like the third one, maybe.
That's okay because you haven't missed anything. Like
Right.
if you saw the first one, you've seen them all.
Exactly.
And that's the greatest thing about them is like they're just good old fashioned action movies. I forget who's Michael Bay is the producer of them or the director of the first three, I think. And
I think so. Yeah, sounds right.
Man, his movies, I really, really, really like his movies. And then
Michael Bay's big in explosions.
Yes, yes. And then there's another one. There's another guy that Christopher Nolan. Mm-hmm. I really, really like his movies. And then like his Batman movies were really good.
Yeah, he did the Batman movies. I'm trying to think of what else he did. I saw a movie his recently. It was pretty good.
Was it Interstellar? He did, I think.
Yeah, I think he did
Interstellar. That was a badass movie, man. One of my favorite movies. I actually, that movie probably changed a lot of things in my life.
Really?
Interstellar, yeah. Because so watching that movie, man, I didn't really understand the relative theory of relativity, nor was I interested. Mm-hmm. And so watching that movie, it really put things into perspective for me. And I've always been interested in space, always been interested in the stars, but I never really thought about it more than the passing thoughts. And as I was watching Interstellar, I got more into the science and stuff. And then 2017, that 2017 article in the New York Times where they were talking about the government UAP programs, the government UFO stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so when that stuff's happening, and then you got that Interstellar movie, and then it helped me understand a little bit more of the kind of crazy stuff that's going on. And like, so the UFO stuff, actually, I was talking to somebody the other day, the government, we were talking about the government stuff and the military, and they think that a lot of the UFO stuff that we're seeing is all military. That's what they think. And if you think about the things that like the military has said over the last 25 years, we're 50 years, 75 years ahead of everybody. And you think about the stuff that we can do now, you know, what will be possible in 20, 25 years? Like they're talking about quantum entanglement on a large scale. You know, is that possible that stuff's going on now?
So I think what we're seeing now is it's kind of like a slow drip.
Yeah.
Just to like,
like a final disclosure, just like a slow drip until everybody puts all the pieces together. Yeah.
And
that's an interesting one too. Yeah.
I feel like people have caught on. Like people already have been on it for a while. That now it's the government's kind of like, okay, let's show them things.
Right.
So that we're kind of like into it, but we're just trying to show them that we're,
Yeah, let's not freak them out too bad right quick.
Yeah. So that whenever anything big thing does happen, yes, they already have them. And that's what I really look at. You ever heard of, who was it that said it? I think it was Ronald Reagan. If there was one common enemy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Ronald Reagan.
The human population, it had to be an alien or an alien force, an outside force. If one
thing, and we're paraphrasing here, it was basically saying if there was one thing that
would unite
the
everybody.
World,
yes,
could unite the world, and then he alluded to aliens during that speech, and there was another one not too long after that. He did the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you're right. That was Reagan. And that is really powerful to think about, especially right now. Mm-hmm. Like the world leaders, and see, that's another thing that gets your mind thinking that is it a setup? Because throughout history, when we go to fighting world wars, the Cold War, is a really big thing that the government was saying these things. And then as soon as those conflicts were over, they would stop saying these things. Mm-hmm. So is it one of those unifying things that they say and none of this stuff is true? Is it stuff that they say to get us to quit fighting each other? Or, and I just don't know. It's crazy to I've never seen anything anomalous, but that I'm not saying that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't seen anything either, but
I want to see a UFO. I think that
would be pretty cool.
I think that's what prevents me from seeing one.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm looking so hard, probably in the wrong places.
Right.
But I've never, it's been so long. So me and my wife were talking about that. It's been so long since I've seen the sky. So you remember like a few weeks ago, we had the Aurora event.
Yeah.
And, we were trying to look up in the sky and see things. I couldn't see stars. I couldn't see anything. We had to drive outside of town like 20 minutes to see anything.
Yep. It's too bright here.
I was telling my wife, I was like, man, I missed the sky. And she's like, what are you talking about? Look up. And I'm like, no, you can't see anything here. It's too, and then I was telling her about light pollution and how you don't, even out in the country, you don't think about it, but the town that you're closest to, you can see that. It's called light pollution, and it's no bueno. Like there's an island in Hawaii that they tell 7:00 p.m. lights have to be they're not off, but they have to have diffusers.
Really?
Yeah, and all the street lights and everything have diffusers. It's really neat.
Interesting. I don't know that.
But there's also a observatory. It's the Keck Observatory that's on Hawaii. That's the big reason why they got to keep the light pollution down, is so they can see. But man, if we can find a quick Google image, Ashley, and throw that on the screen of what the Keck Observatory looks like, the sky looks like from the Keck Observatory, that'd be really neat. Joe Rogan talks about it on the podcast. It's one of his favorite vacation destinations. He likes to plan out.
I didn't know they had an observatory there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, he
Look
likes
at all that space out there.
Right.
Yeah.
He said what he likes to do. Oh, so the observatory sticks up higher than the clouds, so
Really?
you can look down onto clouds. It's
That's cool.
Pretty neat. Huh. And so Joe Rogan's all the time talking about how he and his family plan out trips there for when the moon is going to not be out. And so you can see everything.
Right.
So
because of the reflection of the light going off of the moon.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. That is cool.
That's why I was telling my wife, I was like, man, we really got to go to the Keck Observatory. And I've been fascinated about it ever since the first time I heard about it on Joe Rogan. He's talking about it, and I checked it out, and I was like, I have to go here. So it's on the bucket list.
You said you're fascinated with space. I am absolutely fascinated with the ocean.
Yeah.
And what freaks me out more is just being in open ocean.
Yeah. Yeah.
That freaks me out.
I've never really, so I went 5 miles off the coast and into the Gulf, and that was pretty scary, but I wasn't really thinking about, like, there is no bottom underneath me. No, I wasn't really thinking about that, because I could see the fish I was catching. That was pretty neat. They were like 30 feet deep, and I could see them. That was crazy. But
we would know more about our space than we know about our ocean.
Well, I mean, it's because it's easier. Space is easier than ocean exploration.
Can't get down there and actually see everything.
Well, they learned with that Titan sub when they went down to see the Titanic.
Talking about going back down there again. And
I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they don't do more of that, to be honest with you. I mean, you would think that the billionaires would get bored of space, because that's what our government does it. So you know what our government doesn't do? They don't explore our oceans. Yeah. I mean, the Navy tries.
It's hard. It's very hard. And everything's so unpredictable. You can lose lives, and it's a lot of money goes into it. So I totally understand. But some of the things I love videos on the ocean.
You ever seen that old movie from the 80s, The Abyss?
Yes, it was underground. It was underground, like kind of alien kind of thing.
Underwater, yeah.
Is that the one where they kind of have this dive thing where it's like at the very bottom? When I was a kid, I had never understood, why is the water just sitting there?
Yeah.
Why isn't it filling up, going up? I never understand physics and stuff.
Air pressure.
Going down there. I was like, man, it should be filling up the whole thing with water. But yeah, it's a good movie. I really like that one.
So you think about stuff like that. And, the government reporting all these UFOs and everything, it's more prevalent in the oceans.
Yeah.
And the Navy, The Navy has a lot of issues with UFOs and UAPs, and like they report it all the time. Like that's how we know about it, is because the Navy reports.
Right.
And I mean, I go back and forth on what I think. Because I want to believe in extraterrestrial life. I want to believe so much that I let it cloud my thinking.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, it's for sure aliens. But like, what if it's not? Like, what if it's our government?
I feel like you should be questioning anything, really, whatever it may be. If you're not questioning anything, you're just falling in line with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you get into that groupthink mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never used to be like that either. I never used to be actually.
I was
like,
never aware of it.
Yeah.
I never knew it was a thing until my older years, and then it was like, listening to independent media
Right.
it really turned me on to the things that media does to mess with us.
Oh, yeah.
The media narrative really is to scare the shit out of us to keep us watching, or divide us so that we sell more of their product or whatever.
Buy more or whatever they're trying to sell us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy, and I've never watched more independent media than I do now. Like, I don't even know. Like, so the only reason I have satellite still is we have satellite instead of cable. The reason why we still have satellite is for sports. That's it. Like, I don't watch TV, and when I do, it's like on one of the 3 big news channels. Fox News, CNN, or News Nation is the one I found that I really like. And I'm not left or right.
Same.
I'm more center. But if you don't pay attention to all 3 sides, left, right, and center, if you don't pay attention, you get lost, and then you don't know what to believe.
Exactly. And I tried to tell someone that the other day. I listen to a lot of the left. I listen to a lot of right. I like to listen to what's going on. Talking to someone who's more, leans further right, I was telling them, I listen to everything what the left says, and I can't listen to a single thing of it. I mean,
you have to.
Yeah, I mean, why are you not? You got to listen to it. And I can get in some pretty deep arguments with some people. I'm like, dude, just listening to what they have to say is, you have to hear. I'm team human. I say that all the time. I'm team human. I'm not team right, left, black, white, blue. I don't care what color you are. I mean,
I understand
human.
There's complexities to everything.
Yeah.
Like, you can't look at the world white or black.
Right.
It's got to be, you got to have that gray in there. You have to. A lot of the worldwide conflicts that are going on right now, we can't look at that through our lens, because it's not happening to us.
Right.
If it was happening to us, we would feel the same way they do. And so I think the West collectively likes to try to put things almost like in our beliefs. We like to look at other places and try to think
Sympathize
like
with
we
them.
do, and you can't do that. They're completely different. It's a different, so it's a half a world away. They don't think like we do. They don't believe like we do. They don't live like we do. So we can't go and express our values onto other folks without taking theirs into consideration. Like, if they're coming to us and asking us for help, we can help them without being judgmental.
Right.
We can help them without trying to tell them how to live their lives. Like, if they're trying to, like, I use the Ukraine-Russia conflict a lot with this. Like, it's essentially brother fighting brother. They're really the same country.
I've had this argument before too.
Yeah.
Someone was trying to tell me, oh, Putin's this horrible person. Putin's doing this. I'm sitting there going, oh, have you actually saw why he's doing it?
Yeah.
I asked them, I was like, you actually looked into why he's doing this?
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, but he's still going to war with, Ukraine. Then I had to go, okay, this is why. And I explained to him he's prepared for this his whole life. He's talked about doing this.
Kiev. Yeah.
That was the national capital of USSR at that time, and he said back in a journal, he said, the motherland was taken from us, which was that national capital.
And he's mentioned it quite a few times. Since the invasion, that he wants to.
It's
like he's putting the band back together or whatever.
Exactly.
But that has nothing to do with us per se.
It doesn't.
So really, I understand people's frustration about sending money, sending weapons, and all that, but Ukraine is fighting for their sovereignty.
Yeah,
and they're. It's important to understand that the United States has other interests at play other than money, weapons.
Right.
Like they're essentially they're trying to wear down Russia's war machine and essentially protect Ukraine's neighbors. Not necessarily Ukraine, but they're trying to stop the fight in Ukraine. They don't want it to go any further. Like, who says it's going to anyway, but
or when it ever will end.
Putin says, from the very beginning, that's what his intentions were, because now he uses the excuse that NATO is expanding eastward.
Right.
Which NATO's a defensive organization.
That's a whole other story there.
There's a lot of complexities that go. It's not black and white is basically what I'm saying. There is a lot of history there that we cannot ignore. There's also a lot of issues between political sides, but ultimately this stuff has been going on over there for like decades.
Years. Absolutely. Exactly. Decades. Yeah.
I mean, since before World War II.
Centuries.
Since before World War One, those areas over there have been fighting amongst themselves, and that's how the Soviet Union came to be.
Yeah.
And so to ignore all that history just because of the way we think is a little naive. We should do our best to be good neighbors, and that's all, and if we could be honest about what our intentions are, I think that would be great. I think that would help the government's cause. If they could be like, oh, this is what we're doing and this is why. I know you guys don't agree, but we don't care. Like, if they were honest about it, people would, okay, we got you. Go for it. Do whatever. But that's not the way they do things. They treat us like we're stupid.
Yeah.
And they treat us like we're children, like we can't handle the truth. Like, we don't understand that a slow drip of weapons in there isn't helping Ukraine, it's hurting Russia.
Right.
And that's they're if they were interested in really helping Ukraine, it'd be over by now. But they're not. They're looking out for our interests.
So war money machine,
Yes. And I don't agree with all that, but I do. It's hard to understand as people that, like, we as a country have to look out for our best interests even 50 years down the line. And right now, I think Ukraine sends a lot of their food around the world, and now they're going to be weapons manufacturers as well. So there's a lot that goes into play there, and there's a lot of money in it, and both sides know.
And what you said too was, like, there's so much history. Like, my grandfather, he used to tell me, history always repeats itself. And going back,
it does.
Going back, and I did a lot of my research with the Ukraine-Russia stuff and why they're doing what they're doing and why it's led up to this. I mean, this has all been building. All has been building. Same thing with, like, we're gonna touch on Israel and Palestine. Same thing. Like, why has it been like it has been?
Yeah.
There's exactly
over 1,000 years of history to be able to tell you, and that's what a lot of the, like, protests going on around the country, like, they don't understand. Like, this didn't just start October 7th.
This has been centuries.
It's been going on for years. Years and years, like centuries. So over 1,000 years, this has been going on. They've been fighting with each other, and so for us to like, no, you can't go and do this because of this. No, like I'm for Israel. I'm with Israel. I'm like, you do what you need to do.
Right.
Because when it's our turn, I want to be able to do what we need to do. And our turn has already came September 11th, 2001. That hurt, man. And we lashed out in anger.
Right.
And for 20 years, we stood post in a country, and I don't ask for forgiveness. I ask for understanding.
Right.
You know, I asked that, like, but that was deeply hurtful to us, and we had to do what we needed to do to protect ourselves so it doesn't happen again. And I think Israel's in the same boat. I can't tell them what to do, but I can certainly help them defend themselves.
Right. And then the history behind it too, where Israel became Israel, and what happened in the 7-Day War. Like it was, all that history is really, it's deep.
Yes.
It's extremely deep.
And then it's when you're talking about the history, there is two sides there.
Oh, extremely, yeah.
You have to be conscious of that and
try to be understanding of both sides too.
Yeah.
Why they lash out, or which side is doing what they're doing, or why they're taking the extremes of why they go there. You know.
Yeah. I don't remember where I heard it. I can't remember where I heard it, but it's a movie quote. As one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Right.
So it is important to keep that in mind. But with that in mind, Hamas has been labeled a worldwide terrorist organization, but at the same time, they are the democratically elected government of their home.
Right.
What do you do? Like, that's who their people voted. Like, but like, for the United States stance and the whole thing, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And I wish that would be the slogan that Joe Biden came out and said.
Right.
I wish he would come out and say, we do not negotiate with terrorists, because that's exactly what Israel's saying. And they are very important allies, and they were attacked. And I believe they have every right to defend themselves.
I have a buddy, he's a Marine. I haven't talked to him in so long. I'm trying to think of his name. Caleb Almond. So, shout out to him. He was a Marine, and he told me some stories about when he was over in Iraq.
Yeah.
And he did, I think he said like 2 or 3 tours. Anyway, he had to explain to me on some things of why I didn't understand. I thought he was over there, you know, these people would be kind of embracing and be like, you know, oh, they're here to help. You know what I mean?
That's what our boys were told when they went in there.
Right. So he said it was not like that. He said the kids over there would throw rocks at you, or they would try to kill you with a bomb attached to a soccer ball, whatever it may be. It opened my eyes too. I'm just like, it's like, okay, they're not really. They don't want them there. And he had to tell me too. He goes, imagine someone coming to your country, coming into your streets, knocking down your door, pulling out of your house. And he goes, and that's when he ended up was like, oh, you know what I mean?
Well, you could be also doing that for the right reasons, still make a hell of an impression on, like,
right.
So, especially in Afghanistan and Iraq, that whole conflict over there, especially that conflict, the kids, those kids are going to grow up one day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's generational hate.
Yeah.
And how that happens is they watch their parents being drug out of their houses.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a story I heard not too long ago about, I think it was Afghanistan, not Iraq, but this woman, a drone strike had killed her husband. And I mean, these are people that, like, obviously they know what drones are now.
Right.
These are people that never seen things like that before.
Mm-hmm.
And so as this drone strike killed her husband, she's looking up at it and she just, shaking her fist. the generations coming up, they do remember that. It's generational hate.
Yeah.
And
over time, yeah.
that's scary as hell, because
it is.
That's exactly how we get to like Al Qaeda and those type places, Hamas. That's generational hate.
You know, you'd say generational hate too. You ever watch South Park?
Yeah.
South Park touched on that generational hate that you bring up. They touched on it with the border, the southern border.
Yeah.
And it was I can't remember the joke behind it. It was like the Mexican Joker. Was that what they called it? Did you ever saw that episode?
No.
Okay, so basically, it was a person, a kid, who had to go through what it was like to go through the southern border process.
Yeah.
You know, through the ICE system as a kid.
Yeah.
And becoming this evil villain, this arc.
Yeah.
When he grew up, that generational hate. They didn't really, they didn't blatantly say generational hate, but they're laying out the joke that this Mexican Joker grew up,
right,
and that he ended up.
So I think at the southern border, it might be a little bit different because of where they came from.
Right.
Like, so even I've not been to Mexico, but I have seen the border. It's like night and day. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of undeveloped near the border on the United States side, but I just, for a lack of a better term, the way of life here is totally different. And these kids that are coming up through the southern border, I mean, they did see a lot of shit getting to our southern border too.
Right.
And even though the way we do things is is unconventional near the southern border, it's a lot better than what other countries do.
I agree. What they're trying to say is the things that are not being shown.
Yeah.
What is, what the rumors are and stuff like that. I think that's what they're going with on the South Park. What I was talking about. It's hard to say what's going on.
Yeah,
and
I
behind closed
saw,
doors is completely different than what we actually know.
I actually saw a news story that on the mainstream news, a Mexican fella who was coming to the United States. He owed a cartel a certain X amount of numbers to get him here, or X amount of money to get him here. He was headed to, I think he said Chicago, but he had really bad injuries, and he was laying underneath a truck when they found him. And I mean, he looked like he was almost dead. And man, I felt really bad because like he was interacting with the police. Like he was so glad that they were there and like help. And they're talking about sending him back. And I'm like, he needs help.
Right.
Like he's here for the right reasons. Like he's a roofer coming to make a better life.
Yeah.
We need guys like that. We don't
Right.
need the people that are wanting to come here to hurt us. And you don't seem to have a problem letting those people in.
Right.
That's, there is a strange dichotomy of things that we do see and things that we don't see.
Right.
And whereas we will see them stopping the people that have bad intentions, what we don't see is them stopping the people who have good intentions
and going through
letting the bad
process.
people, right? Yeah, letting the bad people throw.
And that's kind of what I was getting at. You know, what if the process is not as good as we think it is?
Yeah.
Like I said, I worked in a prison. I know what it's like.
Oh yeah,
I mean, and I worked not too far from an ICE facility too. I mean, the ICE facilities might be nicer, air conditioning, but I mean, I don't know what the actual.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like.
I think it is
behind closed doors.
I think it is pretty close to what the worst you could imagine. Inside
exactly.
the United States.
That's what I would think too. I mean, you never know what's behind closed doors. That's why I kind of, I say this.
And people are people also. Those, like, So if you're having a bad day and you're talking with somebody and that there is a language barrier there, you're more prone to frustration. You're more prone to for aggravation, and it makes for an uncomfortable experience for somebody here that's scared to death, and which, man, but I think a lot of that is a lot of it's government bureaucracy. I think the politicians wanted something that they could hang their hat on, and they didn't think the practicalities of making it happen and the logistics of making it happen and having closed borders and at the same time telling everybody they're open. So our borders at the southern border, it's not open. It's not supposed to be open, but they told people that, and then they told them, come on up. And then they're coming, and then they're like, oh, not yet. Stay there for a minute. No, that's a mass migration, and it's
the last. These are people from all over the world. These are not just.
It is.
We're not just talking about Mexicans.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. That it is a mass migration.
All over.
They're just coming through the southern border, and so and they're actually. I actually heard a news story. They're starting to come through the northern border as well. So
I believe it.
It is. It's difficult. But, when we started this conversation, I was wanting to talk about you are in pest control. And one of the things that you do is you get rid of ants, you get rid of wasps, and all the pests that we can think of. You don't do wildlife, is that right?
No, I don't really. But I mean, if there's snakes and stuff, I will catch them, or a bat or something, I will catch it. But
there is with the company
actively looking for.
With the company that you work for, they do have a wildlife division.
Yeah.
So they have a person that addresses the wildlife aspect of it. But I wanted to talk about pests because you actually came and sprayed my house for pests, and we're having a huge ant problem, and it's an ant problem that's been ignored for years. We've lived here for 10 years, and we didn't see the harm in having like ants. Like we set out those little bait stations and stuff that seemed to take care of them for a while, and then it just became unmanageable in the summertime. And finally this year we bought this house. And I was telling my wife, I was like no more bait. I'm tired of this. I want to get rid of them and everything. I didn't realize the damage that these ants were doing to my house. And not only the ants, but the wasps burrow too. And man, it's just been a pain in the ass dealing with these pests. And I wanted to kind of talk to you and what are some of the worst infestations that you've ever seen with ants?
Ants? I'm actually dealing with one right now. It's been pretty bad. I've seen, they're going all the way around their foundation. I mean, like lines of them just going all the way up their foundation. And, that's a pretty good one I'm dealing with right now. I've never seen one like that. I mean, they've got them, and I've hit them with everything. But they do say if you're having ants and you're still kind of getting an issue too, there's usually a water leak somewhere. And that could be, I was going to say, I think there's a little bit of water on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, that might be part of it too.
Yeah, there's over there on the it'd be on the east side of the house.
West side.
Is it the west side?
Yeah, that's the east side. No, you're good.
Yeah.
I'm so on directions. Yeah. I know where I'm at all the time.
I was thinking north and south because the main thoroughfare here in town runs north and south, the Belt Highway, and so I was thinking it was that way, and then which direction am I at? Yeah. So anyway, the west side of the house, there is a like a trough, for a lack of a better term. It's like a ditch.
Yeah.
There's a retaining wall and a good 4-foot buffer between the retaining wall and my house. And it's a low area. We probably could throw in some topsoil and make it not so bad in there. But you're right. There's maybe a lot of water that sits in there. But also,
drain it somehow. Yeah.
This is a slab foundation. And so there is a moisture barrier. However, the foundation is really close to the dirt.
Yeah.
And so we have moisture issues coming up and all that stuff. So we don't have The ants isn't a big problem because of the moisture, I don't think. But what we do have a problem with because of the moisture is water bugs.
Yeah.
And water beetles. We live right next to the woods. And
yeah.
spiders. We have a lot of issues with spiders. Any bugs that you can think of that go in a basement. That's what we have a lot of issues with.
Any bugs that go in the basement?
Yeah. Like water bugs, silver bugs, and all that kind of water.
I see a lot of crickets and cave crickets.
Yep.
Cave crickets are kind of cool. You see
Yeah.
those a lot in the basements and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you laid down around our house like a granular stuff around to help take care of ants. What else does that do?
That'll take care of like beetles and the crickets and stuff like that. Yeah, it'll help with that too.
That's pretty awesome. And I didn't even think of like the damage that these bugs were doing to the house, but it's like they all eat and they all poop.
Yep.
And so it's like termites. We had a real bad termite, like it wasn't bad. So they weren't doing damage. It wasn't an active infestation, but they were coming up on the outside of the house.
Yeah.
And starting to come in. And thank goodness we were able to get that taken care of fairly quickly because it just started. And they went away for the winter. And then we bought the house. And when we called your company, they said, well, it's not an active infestation. They have been here. They did a little bit of damage, not too bad. And I was very impressed with the amount of money. It only cost us $600 to take care of it. And it was just a one and done. Mm-hmm. If they have to come back, that's not an extra charge. And it's covered under I think I'm wanting to say 5-year warranty.
Yep.
But yeah, the damage that bugs do to your house, man. I wanted to talk about. I think a lot of people get embarrassed when they have a pest problem, and that's something I didn't go through. I didn't go through embarrassment with our termites, our ants. We have not had a roach infestation, but we've seen a couple, especially wood roaches from the woods over here and the moisture.
Orientals
Yeah.
usually are pretty big too.
We've
Yeah.
seen them, but we've not had an infestation.
Right.
But spiders, man, we deal with spiders all the time. I wanted to kind of touch on, a lot of people feel embarrassment about getting rid of pests and stuff like that. Do you really see anything to really necessarily be embarrassed about when it comes to pests? Like, especially if you're let's just say like you do keep up your house and things like that, but there's a possibility you can get a bug problem anyway, right?
Right.
Like, I use the example, like you can bring home common house roaches from the grocery store in a box. You know, they get into that corrugated material and they live in that box and they lay eggs and stuff. So you can pick up an infestation from anywhere. And, man, don't be embarrassed. If you've got an infestation, though, it's very important to take care of it.
Just get it taken care of, yeah.
Because once you get it taken care of, the less damage, the quicker that you can identify the problem and get it taken care of, the less damage that they do. And ants, they cause damage. Spiders don't cause damage that I know of, really, other than maybe the webs that they have. But water beetles, they cause damage. Bugs, in general, they eat things and they poop on things. So they do damage.
Cause diseases and all kinds of things, yeah.
If you're noticing like an infestation of like swarming ants, it's termites.
Sometimes, yeah.
I thought they were ants with wings on them.
Yeah.
No, they were termites.
Yeah, just having the knowledge, really. Always, if you're finding something or whatever bug it may be, just look it up. I mean, finding the research on the bug. Not a lot of the websites out there are pretty accurate, but if you find something usually with it's like a conservation, state conservation or something like that, usually those are spot on. Whenever I do presentations, I usually go off of the conservation because a lot of websites will not have the correct information or the correct pictures sometimes. So,
and the conservationist department works a lot. Well, I know our conservationist department works a lot with the universities in Missouri.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so they get a lot of their information from the universities directly. So yeah, that's awesome information.
Just having the knowledge and like being shameful of it. I mean, everybody have a problem. Ants is the number one in the world.
Yeah.
Ants, everyone gets them. Everybody has a problem with them. I have thousands that are outside my house that die as soon as they get into my chemical. But I mean, I could have them if I didn't actually spray my house.
Right.
So, I mean, everybody gets them.
Yeah.
I mean, and like having the knowledge and know how to get rid of them is the biggest thing. A lot of chemicals out there, a lot of over-the-counter chemicals, I mean, are repellents, and
Right.
you're only going to kill like a couple hundred that are on the top that you're seeing. You'll spray that aerosol and kill, like I said, a couple hundred, but you're not killing the thousands that are underground.
Right.
So spraying a non-repellent, so you spray and they don't even, they're still doing their business, going back and forth. And ants, they have to go back down to the ground every 72 hours.
Right.
So every 72 hours, they're getting into that chemical, and then they're taking it back down to the colony. And then over time, a couple of days to a week, they die.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can take a little longer, but if you're still having a problem, usually it's a water problem, a leak or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really weird how like those bugs like to stay dry. So yeah.
Well,
and
ants can be submerged for up to 24 hours.
Really, I did not know that. And that's actually probably why, if you're having an ant problem, it's probably a leak somewhere causing those ants to migrate.
Yep.
And same thing happens in the wintertime. Like here, we notice that the outside bugs stay outside until the winter, and then they try to come into warmer areas. And so we don't have an issue. We haven't seen any spiders here this year yet. But when I do, it's out here in the garage. I kind of leave them alone out here in the garage because I don't like those flying bugs like flies and stuff like that. And the spiders out here usually take care of those. But man, I really don't like creepy crawlies. I don't like living with them. I don't like seeing them. I don't like dealing with them. And like the best way for me to deal with them, like call you guys. But I know a lot of people that do take care of them by themselves. And there's not a whole lot of difference between some of the chemicals that you guys use versus over the counter. It's just application is a lot of the issue too. Like some people don't.
Sometimes.
Yeah, some people don't apply them very well, and that may be the issue.
Sometimes true, yeah. A lot of the chemicals I'm using are different. They're all usually like this chemical is for this bug, this chemical is for that bug, this chemical is for that bug. Right. So every chemical is for a specific
and I
reason.
did notice that when I called the company you work for, that they gave me a rundown of, they asked me the specific issues that we had and the identifying, like, what issues we have identified versus what issues we definitely don't want to have.
Right.
And we use the service for everything except for roaches, because that's an added fee, and like it's not, the chemicals that you guys use will help with that kind of stuff too. But if we're not having an issue, it's just an added expense. And so we don't have that current issue, but like we have a monthly or every 2 months with you guys, so that if you guys do come out and you guys notice, like you guys can take care of them anyway.
Right.
But one of the things that I had asked, it was about animals and kids, because we have a cat and we also have, a young child. And your company was very assuring that the chemicals you guys use are safe for pets and are okay to be around humans. And a lot of people fear that kind of stuff too. And just to set everybody's mind at ease, take care of these pests, because there is safe products out there for your pets. There are safe products out there for you guys. And so we don't have to live with these things if we don't want to. And, I wanted to touch on that because that's a very unique profession. that a lot of people are like, ew, you know. I found it kind of interesting, you know, because like, and that's another reason why I wanted to talk to you on the show, because like we kind of have an every person theme here, like an everyman. I love to talk to people, love to talk to everybody. And with your profession, I was like, what? I have a bug problem. I want to talk to people about bugs because like I don't like the bugs in my house. And so like the embarrassment factor I wanted to touch on, because I have like heard a lot of people like, oh, I'd get this taken care of. I'm just so embarrassed. And I'm like, well, you know, I'd rather live with the embarrassment than the bugs, you know, myself, but that's just me, you know?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that happens, man. Pests are pests. They call them pests for a reason. And don't be embarrassed. Get that stuff taken care of. And it's not very expensive. Like what we're the service that we're paying for right now, I think is like $45 a month, and that's mostly, it covers the initial payment was like $195 for the service that we chose. And that was not for the preventative. That was for the just initial, the initial infestation, if you will, taking care of that. And then the $45 a month after that is preventative. And we get rid of the bugs, and then we prevent them from coming back. So that's very important. And
yeah, just getting it taken care of, and the know-how and the knowledge. And having a chemical for the right bug, like I was saying, non-repellents for ants.
yeah.
You want to use repellents for spiders, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because spiders, they'll do this right over your chemical.
Yeah.
Not even get, because
And they have little tiny hairs on their legs so they can lift themselves up over that chemical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of chemicals out there, like they act like little tiny bubbles. As soon as they pop those bubbles, the spider pops that bubble, they get that splash from it, and they end up dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of chemicals out there, really good chemicals. So, and everything, you know, I sprayed today, you know, or sorry, everything I sprayed during your treatment, you know, was for ants.
Yeah.
You know, I was going after those ants and trying to make sure I could kill those. It wouldn't necessarily help with spiders. The only thing is, it's going to kill those ants and maybe some of the beetles and bugs like that. They won't
have the food.
They won't have the food, exactly.
Yeah.
So it technically will help. It just won't kill the spider.
Yeah.
It'll make them kind of go away.
That's what for a lack of a better term, we'll just call them customer service. I know that the company's not a giant company like that. They have an office for customer service or anything, but when we called to order the service, that's what they told us. They were like, well, kinda, we can take care of them, but
right?
Like in taking care of it, we just remove their food source. That's it,
right?
You know.
And I was gonna say, if you're not having an ant issue and we come back, you know, at your next visit, you have an ant issue, we can spray for the spiders,
right?
You know what I mean?
Do you take care of rodents, or would that be your wildlife counterpart?
No, I can take care of the rodents too.
Yeah, we don't have rodents, but that's the reason why I got a cat. So we've lived here for 10 years, and we always put out bait for mice. Now, there is a specific bait that I use. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it really worked. It is these little chunks of green shit that they gnaw on, and it doesn't kill them right away. It poisons them slowly.
Yeah.
But whatever they're eating, whatever that chemical is, it makes them not stink when they die.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, let's get some of that stuff. But now that I have a cat, we quit putting that stuff out, and all this bothered me because I didn't know what else was going to be eaten on it. You know, I didn't want. I don't like snakes either, but like I didn't want something like, I know snakes smell terrible when they die.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want one of those snakes to swallow one whole and then die and then stink.
Right.
You know, and so, yeah, so we don't have a rodent issue or I knock on wood, we don't have a snake issue either. But that's the reason why I have a cat, is we don't have rodent issues. And I was really worried about that. I was like, man, I hope they don't lay down something that's going to kill the cat.
No, taking care of a rodent issue though, I tell this to everybody, anybody that's having a rodent issue. You can ultimately take care of this issue if you fix the things that are around your house.
Yeah.
You won't even have to see me no more. You won't have to put bait out no more.
Right.
And that's the first conversation I come in with them. If I have a new customer with rodents, I usually tell them first thing off the jump. I'm like, hey, where's the issue? Where are they coming in? Let's figure that out first.
Yeah, because if you can identify where they're coming in,
exactly,
that's why they're there.
And we stop that. Yeah. And we stop that, and that's how you ultimately. And I tell them, you won't have to see me ever again. Like,
yeah. So we never had an issue with the mice in the house. It was out here in the garage, and there's a gap in between. There's a garage door on the other side of this, and there's a gap at the bottom where like mice can probably just walk in and out. You know, I know it's there.
Yeah,
it's just I gotta fix the door.
You fix that gap, you probably won't have mice ever again. That's what I tell people too. You fix those areas. I mean,
because ultimately they're looking for something or a place to get food or warmth. Yeah.
Yeah, I have people that pay $60, $70, $80, $90 a month every month. They have you come out there, and I tell them every month I come out there, have you fixed this? Have you fixed that? And they tell me, oh, no, we're still, here's my money again. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Ultimately, why I chose the company that you work for is because they told me that I didn't need this certain service, but I needed this certain service. And this isn't an emergency, but we better take care of this right now.
Right.
And they were very honest when they came in the door. I had called somebody out for an estimate, a quote before. It was the same price, but the guy basically just was going to spray. And for termites, you have to put stuff in the ground. And the people that came and quoted me for your company, they said, well, yeah, we got to put it in the ground, but here's something that you may not like. We have to drill through your house. Also, we have to drill through your foundation. And I'm like, oh no, I'm fine. You go ahead and do that. Get rid of the bugs. And I was like, $600? You're going to do all this work for $600?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah. And I was like, sold.
Right.
The guy came in, he peeled up the carpet, they drilled a couple holes, you know, and I there was more than a couple holes.
Right.
But
right.
He was very professional. He came in and was, I mean, the way he interacted with my son, very professional, very awesome.
Who was he?
I can't remember.
Did he have a hat? Kind of short, skinny
No, he was
guy?
a tall guy, young
Oh,
fella.
okay. He's probably Gavin then.
And then
He have a mustache.
You know, I can't remember.
He's a good guy.
Yes,
he's a little new, but yeah, he's a good
mustache.
Gavin.
Yeah.
It has to be Gavin. Yeah,
So-
I was gonna say I know it has to be Gavin.
But he was very nice to my kid and very.
What kind of car did your vehicle? Do you remember that?
Truck?
Okay, then it was probably with Cody.
That name sounds familiar.
It was probably Cody then. Yeah. He's he's a field supervisor.
Okay.
Yeah, he watches
I know
us,
Cody was here.
Supervisor or something like that.
I know Cody was here when we got our initial estimate. So I think it was somebody else that came and did the termite.
Maybe it was Gavin then.
Yeah, I'm wanting to say it was Gavin.
We have so many people now from when I started just 7 years ago. Yeah.
This just a few weeks ago, and it's just. But I meet so many people now; it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I understand.
But yeah, he came back in and like peeled the carpet back, and it was very professional when he put it back, and I was kind of concerned. I was like, hey, you know what are you guys going to use to fill those holes? And he's like an epoxy, and he explained it to me, and you know the plug that's never going to come out, and then they ultimately drilled a couple holes in the sidewalk out there, and then I saw what they used, and it looks like concrete.
It's a concrete patch, yeah.
So it's fine, and I was just amazed by like $600 for all that work. I mean, that was like he was here for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, and like it wasn't like he was standing around bullshitting the whole time. He was actually working, And so like you take in the time and materials, like they may have lost money on this job, but I mean, ultimately I signed up for we got that warranty, and like next year they'll come out and do a check.
Yep.
For free.
Make sure you're doing good. Yeah.
Yeah, and like if we need more services at that time, they hook it up. Like, and I was very impressed, and everybody with the company that you work for is nice to talk to, easy to talk to, very understanding, and very educational. That's the first thing that they wanted to do, is educate me on what they were doing. And so when you came, I was kind of unprepared the day of. Like I came out and talked to you, and I was like, hey, what do you need pulled out away from the wall? Because I forgot to get this information earlier, and you were like, oh, we don't have to come inside right now. If we can come back. And I was like, oh no, we'll get it today. And
yeah,
and you made it very easy, and you're like, well, this is how we do it. And I came in within 5 minutes. It was ready for you to come in and spray, and it's a very easy process. And I want to thank you for that, and the company you work for.
Yeah,
give
no
everybody
problem.
a shout out. Because you've been on the show and we've had some personal conversations and some opinions, I don't want to shout out your company so I don't get you in trouble. So,
oh no, you're good. Yeah, they wouldn't be. Yeah,
as a matter, you know
I
what?
was gonna say,
We'll
prefer pest control. Yeah, they wouldn't care. They would love it. Yeah.
Go ahead, and we will give them a shout out. Preferred Pest Control, St. Joseph, Missouri. I know we got a pretty big audience here in St. Joe. Well, I say pretty big, couple hundred people, but we got a pretty sizable audience here in St. Joe, and we'll just throw up a thoughts and opinions disclaimer at the beginning or end or whatever. I'll let my editor make that decision. But Preferred Pest Control here in St. Joe, you guys are great. Thank you very much for all the hard work that you guys have done, keeping us pest free and allowing Will here to come out and share his thoughts and opinions with us. We've talked quite a bit about a lot of stuff, and this is the focus of the show, just normal everyday conversations with everyday people, inspirational conversations. We've talked about some mental health and how running and stuff has really helped with that stuff, and talked about half marathons, 5Ks, 10Ks, full marathons. I've learned a lot of stuff about marathons today. 13. Yeah. You said 13.1 miles
as a half
marathon.
Yeah, I didn't know anything either.
I didn't even know there was marathon length. So I thought a marathon was a marathon.
Whenever it's funny because David Goggins, he says all the time, I'm not training for anything. I'm training for life.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got into the racing, because I was already running. I was already preparing myself, changing my life and doing the right thing. And then when September was getting closer, I think it was my wife, she said some people at the hospital were talking about the St. Joe Marathon that's going on in September. And I'm like, this is what I've been preparing for. This is what it is. And ever since then, I've been wanting to do a race. I've
got another idea for another show. Not like this type of show, but like a local show to tell about the happenings and goings on of this place, because one of the things that I have difficulty finding is stuff to do. I know that there is a lot of stuff to do here and a lot of free stuff to do, but there's no place to find all that information in one place. You'll usually have to search out like 5 different websites and look up Google, like free in, and then the city. And then it's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes to find things to do for kids. And so, I had another idea for like another podcast that we were going to do, like a local show here and kind of showcase those things, local businesses and stuff like that. And it'd be kind of neat if we get that going and we have you on again and talk about some of the marathons and stuff in the St. Joe, because I had no idea that there was stuff like that here. Like I knew
that was the inaugural, the last one.
Really?
Yeah. So this will be the second one coming up.
That's awesome. So we're gonna have to definitely give that a shout out. Like I'm going to tell my editor to find the website that this marathon is there. Who's putting the marathon on?
I think it's the St. Joe Committee, the St. Joseph Sports Committee.
St. Joseph Sports Committee. Let's link them in there.
Yeah.
And that's pretty neat though, because there's a lot of stuff going on here in town that I just don't know about, because the only time we hear about it really honestly is sometimes you know, it'll be in the newspaper after it's over, or it'll be on the news while it's happening. And so that's one of those things I wanted to do. Maybe not with this show, but have like another, like a local YouTube show or whatever. I think that'd be kind of neat. Commission.
Yeah, the St. Joseph, Missouri Sports Commission.
There we go.
That is the website that, yeah.
So we'll link them also in the description there, so everybody knows what we're talking about. And I don't know if my editor will throw up some pictures of the Parkway or not, but that's some beautiful area here in town. But well, Will, it's been a great time talking to you. It's been a great conversation.
Yes,
we're both out of coffee here, so yeah. I think we're gonna get out of here. But it's been wonderful talking to you, and I'd love to have you on here in a couple months, like when you go.
I was gonna say,
start running that marathon.
Whenever you want to, ask me to come back on, I'll come back on. Yeah,
awesome.
Next week, next month, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
awesome.
I definitely enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. I like talking to you. Awesome. I like to do this again.
Awesome. With that, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Later.